Hey, fourth grade, welcome back. I hope you did well on your test yesterday and that you are ready to move on to lesson 76. Lesson 76 is talking about division with 3-digit answers. So when we divide, we're going to find 3 digits in our answer. So I put up here our review of the process that we use. Remember the division family, we have dad, mom, sister, brother, rover. So dad is the divide part. Remember, dad can only go on the roof. So if we look at our division problem here, we're going to have dad on the roof. All right, all the answers to our division problems go on that roof. Mom, multiply. So when we have mom, we have roof times the door ends up on the floor. And we make that floor when we do that. Roof times the door ends up on the floor, right? Dad is calling down to mom, and mom has to go in the house for something. All right, so roof times the door ends up on the floor. Then sister subtract, we make that nice subtraction problem. If there's a bring down, brother in town, so bring him on down. Brother's in town, he has to go up and talk to his dad again. So we ask this question of how many of these can I get out of that, and then we do that process. When there's no brother in town, sister plays with rover, and rover has the leftover. Okay, so let's look at an example like this. So let's say we have 782 divided by 3. 782 divided by 3. Well, I start with that process just like I normally do. How many 3s can I get out of 7? Now remember, he has to be the same age or older to answer the door. If not, he has somebody come with him to make him feel safe. But he is as big as the person knocking on the door. So we look at that 7. How many 3s can we get out of 7? We'd say 2. So we'd put our 2 on the roof. That's the dad. It's dividing. We're dividing that 7 into 3 parts. So how many 3s can we get out of 7? 2. So now we're on to mom. Roof times the door ends up on the floor. 2 times 3 is 6. There we go. Mom, 2 times 3 is 6. Sister, subtract. We have the subtraction going on. 7 minus 6 is 1. Is there a brother in town? Yep. Brother in town, so bring him on down. We can only handle one brother at a time. So he can only have one brother come down at a time. So one brother in town, bring him on down. Now, we go back up to dad. How many 3s can I get out of 18? Again, in this situation, like I said in class, if you're having a hard time remembering what to do next, that after brother time, you can kind of almost think of this as this division sign here, like putting that 3 off to the side again to help you to remember that. But how many 3s can you get out of 18? We can get 6, and that's a dad answer, and dad's the only one allowed on the roof. It has to go right above that brother. Very, very picky about that. You take the 6, it goes right above that brother. Because that's the number we're using. We're using 18. We're not using 182. We're just using 18. So now we do our mom part. 6 times 3 is 18. Sister subtract. Roof times the door ends up on the floor. That's what I forgot to draw on my floor. We have a 0. Now, there's a 0 here too. Now, I have a brother in town. Brother in town, bring him on down. All right, now he goes and talks to dad. How many 3s can I get out of 2? I can't get any. So we put that 0 up on the roof. Roof times the door ends up on the floor. Sister subtract. We get 2 remainder. So we would have 260 with a remainder of 2. All right. So on to the next part is I need to check my answer, especially when I'm getting into this kind of stuff. So I take what's on the roof, 260, times who's at the door, and I do that first. 0 times 3 is 0. 6 times 3 is 18, carry my 1. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 more is 7. Now, Rover got the leftover, so we can't forget to add him in. We add him in, and we get 782. Okay, so we can go through that process again. We'll just take another look at that process. All right, so we said how many 3's can we get out of 7? 2. 2 times 3 is 6. Roof times the door ends up on the floor. Sister subtract, we got 1. Brother in town, so bring him on down. Then we said how many 3's can we get out of 18? You don't have to write that 3 there, I just did it for your example. How many 3's can we get out of 18? 6. Roof times the door ends up on the floor. So 18 minus 18 now, sister subtract, gives us 0. Another brother in town, so we do the same process. How many 3's? Again, same thing. How many 3's can we get out of 2? None. That goes on the roof. Roof times the door ends up on the floor. Sister subtract, we get 2, so we have a remainder of 2. Okay. Now, if you have a problem that has a decimal point in it, it's very similar. So I'm just going to put the decimal point into here and show you what it's like. So if I had $7.82 and I had divided that into 3 sections, what would I end up with? I would end up with $2.60 and 2/3 left over, or remainder 2. We usually don't ever get that when we do money. Money in our books are always straightforward, and it's not going to have anything different like that. Okay. Make sure that you go all the way through to the end of the problem. All right. Your decimal point comes up, and it's right in between where it should be. You just pop that decimal point up into that next level. It's going to be in the same position. That's why it's important to line our numbers up, because if we don't, we end up with our decimal point in the wrong spot and the wrong number up there. All right, so when you're doing your math, you can almost forget that the decimal point's there. Do the math just as it should be, and then put that decimal point where it belongs when you're done with it. Okay? One more thing we need to go over today, and that is, what do we do with a reasonable estimate of something in division? So let's say we had, 400 days till our vacation. And you wanted to divide that up into 5 groups of days, because you're looking at your the amount of weeks that you might have. Maybe you want to put it in 5 week sections or 5 day sections. 5 sections. Let's just do 5 sections. Well, that's going to give you that's going to give you 80 days. So let's do something a little different. Let's do something that maybe would be a little bit, okay. Let's say you have a notebook, and the notebook has 400 pages in it, in the notebook. All right, and you have 7 subjects that you want to divide that into. And you want to have the same amount of pages, or almost the same amount of pages per subject. About how many pages would each subject have? So if we're looking at about how many pages would each subject have, 400 divided by 7 is going to give us something with a remainder. So what we want to do is think of our multiplication by 7s. And we want to think of, what do I have? I have 7 times, well, we're going to skip like the 2, 3, 4, because I know my number here is going to be large. Just think about those first two numbers, 7 and 40. If I want something that's around 40, I'm going to think of 7 times. Let's start with 7 times 5, 7 times 6, 7 times 7. All right, so 7 times 5 is 35. I don't know if you can still see that. 7 times 6 is 42. And then 7 times 7 is 49. I want to find the closest number to 42. Is it 35, 42, or 49? Hopefully you said that it's 42. So what you want to do is to get a nice number with no remainders, you're going to change this number right here. And I want to change that number to 42. If I change that number to 42 and the 0 is still there, now when I figure it out, how many 7s can I get out of 42? 6. That equals 42. How many 7s out of 0? Obviously 0. And I have no remainders, so I end up with about 60 pages per subject. Okay? When you're doing that, when you're finding an estimate for division, you want to make this number be a nice multiplication fact or a multiple of 7. So think about those multiples of 7. 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, and so on. And then you figure out what your answer is by doing that. Okay? Today's worksheet is all about that long division process, having 3 digits in your answer. Make sure you do some checking of your answers, that you're getting the right responses for that. Okay? Good luck on that, and if you have any questions, make sure you get a hold of me.